Hi everyone. Well, this is my first try at making a video tutorial for a topic. This particular topic is what are Gantt charts. So one of the goals I have with these video clips is going to make it short and to the point. So I don't want to give you a big long 30, 40, 45 minute video clip. I'm going to try and keep it to 10 minutes or even 5 minutes if I can, even shorter if I can, depending on how it goes. This is my first try at it, so we'll see how it works and how I'm able to keep it to the time constraints. Anyhow, I hope you enjoy it and I hope it's useful. In this tutorial, we're going to take you from your milestone document all the way to creating your own Gantt chart. And we're going to find out in the process that the two probably go hand in hand, and you may adjust one or the other as you're going. So what we're going to do is have a look at starting with your milestone document, creating a Gantt chart, then using it for planning and organizing, and finally for using it to monitor the project. Let's start with this milestone document. It should be fairly similar to ones that you've seen. You may not agree with all of the milestones as they're stated here, but it should be pretty similar to what you've seen, with the exception of this last column here. This is the effort in days for this particular example that you think it might take to do each of these milestones. The focus group sessions, 9 days for example. Design finalization down here, 3 days. And so on. Training preparation, 5 days. What we want to do is take this and translate it or transfer it into visual form into a Gantt chart. Okay, I went ahead and did just that with an online program that I'll point you to towards the end of this tutorial. What I did was I took exactly what was in the milestone document, phase by phase and milestone by milestone, and entered it into this sample Gantt chart. The green bars represent each of the milestones, and their length represents how many days that one's going to take. So in this you'll see project charter. I've moved to the top. That's going to take, and let's just edit that. We've got that down for 4 days. And in fact, that's what we have on the milestone document. So anyway, all of these correspond to the milestone document. At this point, we've sort of transferred it over. We can put the milestone document away, and now we can start working with our Gantt chart. Now that we've transferred your milestone document into a Gantt chart, and we've got this visual way of looking at things, what can we do in addition to that? Where's the usefulness in these Gantt charts? Now, before we had software, a lot of these things would be up on the wall, and each of these green bars might be just strips of paper. What people would do, though, is pick them up and move them around on the chart so that you get a better idea of where they are in the project. So, for example, project charter really needs to be one of the first items. Focus group sessions, however, really can't start until after the project charter is complete. Now, why is that? The statement of work, that acceptance means that the client says, okay, go ahead, we agree with the way you're going to do it. We probably shouldn't start on anything until we have that agreement, unless we're operating on good faith. But let's say for the time being, we're not going to do that. So really what that means is within this first phase, focus group sessions and server review really can't start until the statement of work is done. And now that really follows for all of the rest of them. But before we start moving them around too much, let's get a better idea of what's going on here within the project. The focus group sessions will be finished somewhere, if we start September 1st, around September 19th. Is there anything that can start before the focus group sessions are done? Well, the communication plan could probably be started around the same time. The design workshop could probably be started around the same time. And the design finalization can probably be started, well, obviously just after that. Okay, now have a look at the consequences here of the project that we're looking at. First of all, because of this at the beginning, we really can't start the project until somewhere around the 7th of September. That's a full 7 days. Now, we've sort of suggested that all of these could start, except for this one, could start at the same time. That means we need to have enough resources to man each of those things. So we need to have someone or group of people doing the focus group sessions. We need someone else to do the server review. We need someone else yet to work on the communication plan. Right? And we need someone else to do the design workshop. Let's say that we don't have that many resources. So the person who's doing the focus group sessions will also do the communication plan. That means the communication plan has to come out here. Let's get there. So the person doing the focus group sessions will finish those up and move on and do the communication plan. The design workshop, in this one, let's say it's done by someone who's really can't come on the project until sometime around here. Previous commitments and so on, they can't join the project until then. Now, remember there's a dependency here. Design workshop and design finalization. Finalization can't happen until after the design workshop is done. So let's just move that out there. Okay, and just in case, this is a dependency, and we want to make sure that that's captured. So we'll just link the two of them. Now see what happens if I try and move it back. It gives me a visual indication that one of my dependencies has been broken. Okay, so we now know that there's a dependency between these two. And I could go through all of these, but I think you start to get the idea. By being able to move these bars around, and incidentally we can also resize them so that we can give them more days or fewer days depending on how we feel it should work and depending on the circumstances. But at a glance, especially in this top part, we've got a pretty good idea of what's going on. We see at least one dependency, and really there should be one from project charter to all of these others. Nothing can start until this one's finished. That would be a lot of lines, so we'll leave that for now. But we can really move these around, and at a glance it gave us a sense of which things were dependent on others, how many people we needed on the team, and the consequences, remember the communication plan, of having one person do multiple roles within the project. Presumably the same thing would be true of these other things as you work through them. As you move things around, you get a better idea of what the impact is in the different tasks, and depending on how many people you have on your team and their expertise, that might have an impact on these. So great planning tool, great organization tool. You might want to use this, and you'll go back and forth with your milestone document, maybe revise each, and so on. Gives you a really good idea of what the project is about. Well, you can use a Gantt chart to help with your planning of the project, planning and organization and so on. Something else you can do with the Gantt, and a common use for it, is to track progress through the project. Now, let's just have a look up here, and let's say that that's about 65% done. Well, that's only 16% of phase 1, but it's 65% of that task. So we're getting close to being done, but now we can't do anything else until these are done. Well, just for the purpose of example, let's say we're done that now, and the person doing the focus group sessions, we're further along in the project, say, and she's about, let's say, 65% done. Well, that means we can probably start moving on to this pretty quickly. But at a glance, we can tell how far along we are in the project, which tasks are complete or mostly complete. And something else you can start look at doing then is a bit of mitigation. So if you see, and risk management, if you see, for example, that there's a bottleneck happening, and even though it's the 14th of September and this one should be 65% finished, it's the 14th of September and only 20% is finished. Clearly there's something wrong, and you can use this as a tool to flag some of those sorts of errors, some of those sorts of problems. The fancier the program, the more color coding and the more in-depth you can use in terms of displays and so on. But I think you get the idea. We can use a Gantt chart to plan, to organize, and then once the project has started, you can use a Gantt chart to help visually monitor the project and see where it's at. The intent of this tutorial was to introduce you to Gantt charts and show you how Gantt charts are really a creation that comes out of your milestone document. Gantt charts are a nice visual tool that will help you plan and organize your project, and it'll also help you monitor the project as it moves on from start to finish. And as we said, a Gantt chart is really a visual planner, an organizer, and a visual progress monitor. They're really easy to understand, at a glance understanding in most cases, and depending on the software, pretty easy to create and manage. Now the software, probably the one program that most of you have heard of is Microsoft Project. There's a whole range of other software to create Gantt charts. The one that I've been using in this tutorial is an online one that you'll see a link to right at the end of this tutorial. But there's a whole bunch of software you can use, some of it free, some of it fairly inexpensive, some of it more expensive. Choose a software that will match what you intend on using your Gantt charts for. If they're really detailed progress monitoring tools, Microsoft Project may be a good bet. But if the idea is to use it more as that visual planner and organizer, as we've been using it in this tutorial, perhaps you can look at other tools. Anyhow, leave that up to you. Well, thanks for persevering through all of this tutorial. It's a bit longer than I intended, but I hope you found it useful.